everybody, this is Jennifer with ChoiceSlides.com, and this is my very first tutorial for ProShow Producer 6. Since this came out, I've really only put out one slide style that really utilizes the text as a layer, and it's this swinging Christmas frame where you can see the text is actually attached to the frame and swinging. And unlike previous styles that I've done like this, you don't need Photoshop. You can now finally do all of this right within Producer. So this is going to be a little bit more of an advanced tutorial because we're going to go over rotation center and modifiers that use the tilt feature in ProShow 6. And for this tutorial, obviously you do need ProShow 6 because we're going to be using text as a layer, which did not exist in previous versions. So for this tutorial, I have uploaded a free image file onto my website. It's just a little index card that I kind of scanned in. You can find that by looking under images and then the free category, and you'll find it right here. This is just a simple JPEG, nothing fancy to it. It's not a slide style. You don't import it or anything, but we're going to use this to swing and add some text to. So once you've downloaded that index card, you have to unzip it and you'll find the JPEG inside. Go ahead and start a new slide and bring in your index card layer. The slide length and all that good stuff doesn't really matter. We're just going to kind of go through the motions of how to make it swing and then add text and attach it to that swinging motion. I have my slide at 10 seconds if you want to follow me exactly. Again, the cool thing about the modifiers that we're going to be using is the slide time doesn't matter. Okay, so I've got my index card in, and I've got it at fill frame, which is fine, but we're actually going to go ahead and change that to fit to frame so we can kind of see the whole thing. It is still a little too big, so go ahead and change your scale to 80%, and I'm doing all this in my layer settings. If you're doing it in the effects tab, you'd have to do it for every keyframe. So when you're starting out, if you want to make global changes, do them here in the layer settings for everything that you can. That's why we've done that here. So we've got this at 80% set to fit to frame. And the first thing I want to do is I actually want to change my rotation center, and you cannot do that here in the layer settings. So jump with me over to the effects tab, and I will show you some things. So we want this to swing nicely, and we're going to use both the vertical and horizontal tilt. But you'll notice if I mess with my horizontal tilt and my vertical tilt, the center of the tilting motion is right in the middle. That's where our rotation center is. It's in the middle. But I don't want it to swing from the middle. I want it to kind of act like it's swinging from the top, as though it's hanging from a hook or something. So let me bring these back down to 0. So we want to actually change our rotation center. The horizontal center is fine because I do want it to be in the middle, but I want it to be all the way to the top. Now, if you remember, vertical coordinates are backwards in ProShow, so we want it to go up. So we're going to type in a negative number. That was a mistake years and years ago, and I don't think they can fix it at this point, or everybody's work would be flipped upside down. So we're just going to type in -50, and if you can see, actually, let me do -40. And you can see that, can you see that little crosshair? That's where our center is now. So now if I do a horizontal tilt, or let me do a vertical tilt, you can see it's not swinging from where that little number 1 is anymore. Now it's swinging as if it's grounded right there on that crosshair. Okay, and if you had something with a little hole right there, say this was a card with a hole, you actually wouldn't want your swinging to be all the way at the top. You'd actually want it to be a little bit lower. In our case, we want it to be all the way to the top, just to be consistent. So we're going to have the right box where it says rotation center. Type in -50. Now we are in the effects tab, so this is not a global change. We will have to copy from keyframe 1 to keyframe 2. So right click on keyframe 1, choose copy to next keyframe. So if you click on keyframe 2, your rotation center is at -50 for the vertical coordinates. Nothing's happening, obviously, because our keyframes are the same. But now, as I mentioned before, if you were to vertically tilt, it swings from the top, and that's what we want. Okay, so I'm going to put this down to 0. Now we get to add a text layer. Do not add a caption. we're going to add a text layer. So click on the plus button right next to layers and choose add text layer. Okay, and I'm going to type in swinging text layer. Okay, and as soon as you do that, you get two new tabs, text settings, text effects. These are exactly the same things that you used to have for captions, which you still have if you're doing captions. I personally, when I'm doing this kind of stuff and I want to look like handwriting, one of my favorite free fonts is Hannah's Messy Handwriting. You can, of course, use whatever you'd like. But this is kind of what I'm going to go with. I'm maybe make it just a little bit bigger. This text settings tab, even though it's down here in the layers, is exactly everything you used to use. So this is where you're going to change your font, your size. If you want it to have a drop shadow, this is where all that stuff is. Your text effects, we're actually not going to be in here at all because I want this to behave like a layer, not a caption. So for this tutorial, ignore this text effects tab. So once you have your text in here, make it whatever color, font, size, position it wherever you want. You can go ahead and position it here nicely. I'm going to make it look like I've actually lined it up with the lines there. You can space it out just a little bit. You can use the little arrow here for your line spacing. See how my text layer isn't quite on that next blue line? So I'm just going to click on my little arrow here to just bring that line down just a little bit so that I now have swinging and text layer as though I actually wrote them on the blue lines. Okay? So once you have your text layer, jump back to your effects. And here's where the really fun stuff with ProShow Producer 6 comes in. Unlike only having these text effects, see now I'm in the text effects tabs, you can only do these few things, which is great. Now we have all of these at our disposal, which is awesome. So I want this layer to also swing with the same rotation point, but we're not simply going to type in -50 because if we do that, our rotation point is going to go all the way to the top. Watch as I type in -50, and if I swing, it's swinging all the way at the very top, and that's not where our index card is swinging. Okay, so we don't actually want -50. We actually want, let's try -40. Okay, and as you can see there, -40 works really well. It puts the text layer's rotation point right at the top of the index card. So now they will rotate together. Okay, so again, we're in the effects tab, so we have to copy keyframe 1 to keyframe. Actually, let me not do that. Let me just show you. I'll click on keyframe 2 and watch this -40. It's at 0. So this is why we have to copy from to the next keyframe, because any attribute changed in this tab only changes on the keyframe you're on. And there is no rotate center in the layers tab. I wish there was. Okay, so back to the effects tab. Now we're going to go back to our index card and we're going to add some modifiers to make it swing really nicely. We're only going to add modifiers to vertical and horizontal tilt. When we're doing this, the modifiers are kind of useful. If you really get into modifiers, you're going to find it frustrating that zoom doesn't work. So that's why we're not going to add a modifier to zoom. So we're just going to make it swing, but we're not going to try and have it come towards you because everything will look horrible. So in order to add a modifier, let's start with vertical tilt. Come over to the text box and right click on it and choose add modifier. This opens up your modifier window, which can be terribly confusing if you've never been in here. There's 3 different modifiers you could add. We are going to use for the index card amount from function, and then we're going to choose one over here. So click on the radio button next to amount from function. It automatically gives us a sine wave, which is nice. This is a very smooth wave. This shows up and down, but in this case, it's going to go back and forth on a very smooth up and down pattern. Now, its frequency is 0.5. Its amplitude is 50, which is huge. Okay, so down here in the lower left-hand corner, you see a play button. If I play this, see how, I mean, it's huge. It's like, wah, swinging like crazy. Okay, that's the amplitude that's doing that we really don't want. Okay, so we're going to, first let's change the amplitude to 5. Not 50, but 5. Now if you play this back, it's going to be a nice lower swing, but it's probably going to be a little fast. So let's play it back. That's not too bad. The swing is nice. It's a little fast for my taste. So I'm going to change the frequency, which is how often the bumps show up. That's at a 0.5. I'm just going to change it a little bit to a 0.4. Not much of a change, but enough to just slow it down just a little. Okay? There we go. And that's our that's our vertical tilt. Okay, we haven't done horizontal yet. That's our vertical tilt. So hit OK. And you can see there's this little red triangle in the upper right-hand corner. That shows that there is a modifier attached to that, that attribute. And this will always say 0 because all of the swinging happens inside the modifier. So now for horizontal tilt, right-click on the number box, choose Add Modifier. Once again, we're going to hit the radio button for Amount from Function. We're going to leave it at sine wave. Now this one goes side to side. And again, it defaults to really, really huge, really, really fast. If I hit play, it's going to be like, woo, swinging like crazy. So let's change the amplitude. The last one was 5. The swinging forward and backward was 5, and I like that. The side to side, we do not want very much at all. So I'm just going to make that a 2. Not very much at all. And the frequency will also make a 2. Okay? So 2 frequency, 2 amplitude, I'm sorry, 0.2. I said 2, that would have been huge. See all these little lines? Okay, let's go 0.2, not 2. Sorry about that. Now if you hit play, you'll see that it's swinging forward and backward, but it's also kind of going side to side, which things that swing naturally do that, especially if they're only swinging from one point in the middle. If it was, attached all the way across, it would only swing front and back. But since there's a point in the middle it's swinging from, it naturally will also swing a little bit side to side. Now this phase, if you're really into realism, kind of like I am, this phase will specify when it starts to start the up and down shifting. Both of these are set at 0, so they start at the same time. I want to make that just a little bit different, but not much. So we're going to change the phase to 2. Which just kind of shifts the horizontal just a little bit. So it's not identical to the vertical, so that you get just a little bit more variation, so it's a little more realistic in its swing. Okay? There we go. And we're going to hit OK. So now we have this swinging index card, but our text layer is hanging out in the middle, and we don't want that. So we're going to add modifiers to the swinging layer, a different kind of modifier. Actually, this is it. Be careful, make sure yours are still at 0. Mine was stuck at 2 there. We're going to add a different kind of modifier to this text layer, but we're only going to do it again to the vertical and horizontal tilt. So starting with the vertical tilt, right-click on the number box, choose Add Modifier. This time, instead of using an amount from function, we're going to choose variable amount using. So hit the radio button next to variable amount using. This unfortunately defaults to the first thing in the list, not what you came in on. I really wish that they would fix that. So you have to pay attention to what you came in on. This is vertical tilt. So click on this drop-down menu and choose vertical tilt. And then this says from. In other words, what modifier, what layer are we trying to pull those attributes from? And we're trying to pull it from the index card. And there we go, boink. Now it looks exactly like the index card, at least the vertical tilt does. So hit OK. Let's do that for the horizontal tilt. Right-click on the number box for horizontal tilt, choose Add Modifier. Click the radio button next to variable amount using. This is horizontal tilt, so click on Pan X and choose horizontal tilt. And again, we're doing this from the index card layer. And hit OK. And now when you hit play, your swinging text layer is going to be perfectly matched to your index card. And feel free, if you want to change anything, what's really cool is if you come in and you want to change the swinging of your index card, since they're kind of parented and attached, whatever changes you make here will automatically happen to your text layer. So I'm going to change my horizontal tilt a little bit. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to choose Edit Modifier. And this is the one where I changed the phase a bit. I'm going to change that back to 0. and I want my amplitude to be even lower. I'm going to choose 1. Okay, so this is it's only going to go side to side just a little bit. Okay, so I'll hit OK, and I'm going to play this back. And again, I changed the side to side just a little bit, but my text is still staying with it. Okay, and so that's it. That's how you will attach a text layer to motion on another layer. And everything that we just did, you can do with your pan layers. There's absolutely no difference whatsoever. You can do that with rotate attribute. You can do that with those 3 things, basically: your position, your tilt, and your rotate. I wouldn't recommend trying this with zoom, and I'll show you why. I'm going to add a modifier to the zoom to the swinging text. Variable amount using zoom X. We're going to attach it to the index card. I'll do the same thing with zoom Y. Add modifier variable zoom Y to the index card. And not having done a darn thing, just playing it back makes it look absolutely ridiculous. So zoom does not work with the modifiers. I wish it did. If it did, if they ever do get that to work, a whole world will open up as far as parenting one layer to another. But at the moment, it still doesn't work. So, but you have other attributes that you can have fun and play with, and more to the point, you can now have your text attached to these layers, moving, swinging, rotating, and tilting, all with those layers. And then you can also put other things on top of them now. So, and this is just a fun thing with ProShow 6 having text as layers. You could now actually have a photo fly in and land on top of your text, which you could not do before. So this photo can now fly in and actually land on top of the text, which is great. I mean, that looks kind of silly, but that's just another wonderful thing that you can do with ProShow 6, and the fact that you can now have text as a layer instead of just a caption. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial, and I hope that this helps a little bit as far as mostly with modifiers and with tilt and rotation center. Just a little bit of info about text being a layer, mostly the fact that you can now use them with modifier and other attributes. So there you have it. Thanks so much for watching.